All right, I feel like that's enough preamble. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us on the old webinar. Today, we're going to be talking about simplifying MSP contracts and quotes and how ZenContract is going to set that up really smoothly and how that's going to sync really, really nicely into CloudRadial, how you can show your clients kind of the opportunities and quotes that you're giving to them, and even how those look really cool in your agreements once those actually get signed and get signed, sealed, delivered. How do we display those and how do we make that a nice user experience? I am Ricky Cecchini, VP of Product. A little bit about me. I've been with CloudRadial for quite a bit of time, I think right on 4 years now, which is almost near the very, very beginning. I like guitars, I like dogs, I like the Grateful Dead and flamboyant shirts. But with me is Trevor Thomas, VP of Sales for ZenContract. What are you about, Trevor? Tell us about yourself.
Well, I could say I'm all about contracts, but that's not really accurate. That's my daytime job, right? At night, I like to hang out with my lovely wife, our two lovely dogs, and eat hot sauce that would normally just burn through anyone else's belly.
I know we're in the MSP space. We're going to talk about all the technicals, but are you a hot ones guy? Do you like hot ones as well?
So I've done all of the hot sauces on hot ones. I think it's enjoyable to watch to a certain extent until you get to a level where you're like, oh, the hottest one isn't even that hot. And then you're like, oh, you guys are just being babies.
Well, you know, and they tout their, like, they have the last dab. Actually, I don't know if they do that one anymore, but like that one's supposed to be like 1,000,000+ Scoville, which
It's not even hot, man. My buddy bought a bottle, and he's like, this stuff's crazy. It was like $38 Canadian, so like $5 US. And he's like, it's supposed to be the craziest one. And we had it, and we're both looked at each other, and we're like, this isn't even hot. Like, what's the point of this? If you're saying it's the hottest thing. I make hot sauces that are much hotter than that.
I would like to try your hot sauce. I know I swapped away from the PowerPoint for a moment, but I was like, you know what? Let me press the wrong button and do that. And I did.
Well, next show we're at, I'll bring you a bottle.
I would love that, mostly because I really, really enjoy hot sauces. And I think that if we were to share in the hot saucery, that's a bonding thing for anybody. So let me pull up PowerPoint once again, because I pulled it away. And let's get started with our discussions. All right. My SharePoint that disappeared. Okay. So everybody, I want to talk a little bit about who CloudRadial is. Probably you're likely aware, but just give you a little bit of a gist of that. We're talking about a CSA, Client Service Automation Platform, which if you're not familiar with that, I don't blame you because it's a pretty new concept. So what we do is we kind of put together the same concept that a PSA does for your back end, but we're trying to do that for the front end. So the PSA is kind of where you think that's the center of operations for your your techs, your invoicing, your quoting, your projects and your plans. That's cool, but like, what about the front end for the clients? Like, what do they get? Do they get the PSA portal? Do you building something custom for them? There's a lot of stuff that you probably want to show your customers, and that's pretty hard to synthesize into something understandable. That's where we come in, right? We come in, we kind of work together with the PSAs, we work together with other vendors, try to synthesize the client-facing stuff that they do and put it in front of them. So you see a whole bunch of vendors on this list, and we add a bunch of value of our own, right? So we have ticketing that you can do within the portal. We have training in LMS modules, dashboards. There's native CSAT. There's a bunch of stuff, but the ultimate goal again is to build the CSA, which is customer or client services automation, help you again balance out that client-facing part. This is not a CloudRadial demo. This is not the webinar where I'm going to talk about CloudRadial all the time. I really want to focus on what ZenContract brings to the table, which is quite a bit. But to add a little face to the name, if you haven't seen it, this is a screenshot. And we're going to be doing a kind of a very relaxed webinar where we talk about hot sauces, but also talk technical for a sec. I want to show how the integration works, what it does not do, and kind of like showcase Trevor and ZenContract a little better. So I think we should probably get started with just a little brief. Trevor, tell us about ZenContract a little bit, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, if we're looking at it at a technical level or talking about it as the solution that it is, it's full contract lifecycle management, so a CLM, right? Which is kind of a new term in the MSP space. Lots of people have been doing this for a long time, but it was born out of necessity of going, okay, we've got all this contracted revenue. Are contracts duly executed? Are they enforceable? Where are they? Where are they? Where are they? So kind of looking at it from that sense, and then going, okay, now we have a good understanding of where all of our contracted revenue is. Now we want to renew, upsell, all those kinds of things. And that's kind of in a nutshell what ZenContract is.
Killer. Yes. And like I said, it's like I thought that it'd be more entertaining and more valuable for everybody if we didn't just share PowerPoints and talk forever. I want to show this whole thing, and I want to show it from start to finish. So I think I got a little overzealous last time, but I would really like to start with even the CloudRadial side of how you hook it up. And then we're going to spend quite a bit of time in ZenContract itself. So this is a new integration for us. And I want to clarify something else that anybody who has used CloudRadial before may know, and those who do not may not know. There is no theoretical direct integration with ZenContract or any other quoting tool, really. What we do is we really focus on that integration with the PSA specifically. How the integration works, though, is that we kind of listen to how ZenContract puts in the quotes, and we pull them in a very particular way. So if you're already using CloudRadial, you want to pay special attention to this. If not, then just note that you click on the ZenContract button. But the general idea is that when you go into your partner and settings in CloudRadial and you're first setting up your tenant, there's a lot of stuff to set up, right? First and foremost, the PSA, but plenty of other integrations. As you go into the integration section over here under configuration on the right-hand side, also, I'm sharing an ultra wide, so it's going to be quite a big screen. So I'll do my best to zoom in and make it legible. You're going to want to click on the correct quoting tool. And you don't see ZenContract in here today. That's actually happening, I believe, tomorrow. So that's cool. But luckily, I already have an example of what it looks like because we have it in our staging. So this is hot off the presses for us as far as integration. So at the very bottom here, because of the Z, you're going to have your ZenContract. Now, like I was saying, the integration of ZenContract is such that whenever the contract and the quotes get created, they're going to sync into your PSA. ZenContract currently supports ConnectWise and Autotask. Hey, guess what? We do too. So that's what's going to show up. When you enable that, it's going to give you specific filters. So a lot of times when you're talking client experience, you don't want every single quote pulling through, and you want to make it a nice experience for your customers. So we want to make sure that you have granular control over which ones do you want to show, which ones do you not want to show, the lost ones, the awaiting ones. I don't know why you want to show lost, probably just one, who knows, and the different types that you have as well. So that's all up to you. So really, this is a filter. Now, when we actually build them out, we're going to show you the process from start to finish. And then now that we're going to jump back into ZenContract, I think Trevor's probably going to have some stuff to highlight. But let's start from start to finish, how we kind of set this up and how this ends up showing up inside of CloudRadial. So let's get over to ZenContract over here. Now, I happen to have already done a little bit of homework, and I'm going to skip this part. But the first thing to do, I believe, is to connect ZenContract to your PSA. Is that correct on my part?
Yeah, so our onboarding process is, you sit with our lovely customer success manager, Brandy Latimer, and she says, okay, there's some things that you need to bring to your first meeting. That's going to be API creds for your PSA, a logo, any fonts that you want, some ideas on how you want it all to flow, right? Some people are really big on marketing or branding, so they want their images everywhere. Some people want it plain. And then you bring whatever you're going to be sending out. Maybe that's a master services agreement, statement of work, proposal, etc. And we build all of those in. Right. And we build them out as templates so that you can go in and you don't have to really do much after the fact, aside from fill in pricing and select your customer and which template it's going to. That's it.
That is great. And that's what I already did. So actually, you can see that because I hooked it up to our ConnectWise instance, we have our ConnectWise logo up here as well. And I'm going to be showing again, we're really comfortable with this because it works really well. And like so much so that like usually if you catch a lot of webinars with vendors, they'll be like, here's a couple screenshots. I was like, no, let's do it live for maximum embarrassment if it goes wrong. But that's what we're about, guys. Come on. So I hooked it up to this tenant in CloudRadial, and to avoid any trickery, I would like to showcase what that looks like. So again, before we do anything, a lot of stuff to CloudRadial, but the thing to understand is if we're talking intent, you're trying to get these quotes out to customers, not everybody, right? We're talking CloudRadial ultimately, even though I said CSA and all these high level things, if you've never seen it, it's a client portal. So you don't want your interns, if you give it to your customers, right, as MSPs, your customers, you don't want the interns seeing the quotes and whatnot. So rest assured that the area that the quotes are stored in under account and quotes, that's going to be something that, unless you mess with the permissions, is really just for admins only. So as of right now, I don't have anything besides this one quote that I was playing with earlier, and that's it. So we're going to build a brand new one in ZenContract right now. So we're going to go from the dashboard. We're going to just hit that new contract. Cool thing. So easy peasy lookup. I like this. This is pulling directly, I assume, from the companies inside of my PSA. That's a
yeah. And the ConnectWise API is a direct and instantaneous call. So you'll see that reflected when you do the quote. If you're updating something on the quote or the contract, you'll see it reflected both in ConnectWise and in ZenContract and vice versa.
Awesome. Yeah. So we're going to be using our example where we go, hey, in this case, my theoretical guy is Cam Tolliver at the Cam Test site here. He's my primary contact. We're giving him a nice little quote. So he's been selected. That's cool. Next step, you guys do a killer job, and I really like this, of putting your templates out there. And you've also been nice enough to put our CloudRadial stuff in there too, which is very cool.
Yeah, you betcha. And templates are something where if you're looking at the permissions level or versioning, right? Well, which version are they on? Well, you can give it a different name in ZenContract, and you can set the permissions so that, hey, Trevor, I'm the sales manager. I'm going to make it so that it's read-only and mandatory for our SLAs. So Ricky doesn't go send out a new quote or proposal and say, hey, you know what, instead of our normal 24 hours, we're going to give you a 24-minute turnaround, right? That can all be locked down. The only thing you can edit in there, Ricky, is going to be the pricing.
Yeah, and you can also play with the templates as well to like change their colors and stuff too. That's also correct?
Yeah, I mean, we give some like boilerplate ones out when you start onboarding, but really we want them to look and feel however they look and feel today, right? You know, CloudRadial, your branding is amazing. So we would probably build it out where it's going to have like a really nice header and it's going to have your logo, right? So we do have the ones that come with it, but really it's this white glove onboarding that we provide that gives you that same touch and feel.
Yeah, and that's important because again, it's like for us, you know, again, the CloudRadial perspective here is user experience, customer experience, and like I want my stuff to look nice because obviously I want the MSP to look nice. So the whole thing is, can you look nice? Can you look clean and professional? And this is a big step up, right? We know that a lot of people that struggle with quoting and kind of the management of it, besides the time it takes to sync stuff and whatnot, is it's like if you're not a graphic designer, you want some templates, you want to put some stuff up there. So this is super helpful. So I've been playing with quite a bit of these, but I've been using the IT proposal. I think this is a really pretty sweet one. So let's go ahead and run through that. So once I select the template, I can name it whatever I want. In this case, I'm going to do webinar fun. Reference number, billing amount. Now, obviously, I'm pretty fictitious here, so I'm going to do a whole $50 one. Make mine timeless, and then I think we're pretty much good to go. Now we can select different text and whatnot.
Yeah, and then from the selections like this screen here, let's say that you were sending out a managed proposal or contract, and you're like, okay, you know, normally we have Microsoft backup, and you've got a page on each, you know, highlighting the values. You can really drive it home, collect as much money as you possibly can from that prospect. But let's say that on this one, they're not going to get backup. You deselect that section. Right. And again, at the permission level, you can make it so that these sections are mandatory. Hey, you always have to include our terms and conditions, or you always have to include the cover page. Right. And then whoever's sending it out, you don't have to worry about that stuff.
Awesome. Yeah. And in this case, just for the example's sake, I'll do all of them, but noted. And I think that's important too, to make sure that if you're handing this off and you're having someone make this a part of the process, it's pretty much foolproof for them.
That's just it, right? And I mean, because, you know, a lot of MSPs we deal with go from, okay, 1-person shop, 2-person shop, and they scale. And what ends up happening is usually there's this reluctance to give away some of these tasks in the fear that they're not going to be done properly, right? So alleviate some of that concerns with permission levels. Done.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. So let's keep running through it. I think at this point, I'm kind of ready. I have my template. I kind of like what I'm seeing now. What I'm going to do, and this is where the CloudRadial stuff is important as far as how we work. Remember, our integration is not directly with ZenContract, but through the PSA and then kind of like the settings in which it carries through. So it's important for us that whenever you do this, again, ConnectWise and auto task, you link up that opportunity to quote. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and create that right now. And then I'm going to tie it to my API. Let's go for it. And just make this a quote. So as of right now, what'll happen immediately is I've created that opportunity inside of ConnectWise, right? Just like boom, like that. Now, inside of ConnectWise, which I also have open, we can actually go back and see that. That has already been created. So this may not even be showing inside of CloudRadial just yet, but you can see that the webinar fund should show up here as soon as ConnectWise decides to abide. There we go. Webinar fund. This is also extremely tiny. So there we go. So that's cool. Now, the name of the game too is, again, we're trying to showcase this to customers. We want to make sure the products and stuff pulls down. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back over here and go, okay, let's drop the pricing bundle. This is something you can choose to do on individual pages. So
Yeah. Yeah, and I think when we were doing the initial testing, we were both surprised at how fast it really, like it's essentially real time from us into ConnectWise into CloudRadial. Like I loved it anyways.
Just answering Carrie's question here to say, if you're got to drop out or you got to do something else, no big deal. We always send the recording of this and post it up on YouTube. So easy peasy. Norb, a good friend of the show. Product asks if data is if ZenContract data is cached on CloudRadial's platform. It's not. It's actually pulled live, and again, it's like the same second you connect it or disconnect it, it comes and goes with it. So again, we'll take a look at what that looks like as well. So pretty much as long as it makes its way into the PSA, that's really our source of truth for it. So it's in and out right there, which is a good thing, I think. Yeah, and I think that the obviously, we can talk about bad where it's like, okay, so if you change your mind about stuff, then it's gone. But the good news is if you make a change, you're not having to manage multiple systems to clear caches and update and kind of keep up that data. It's just single source of truth. So again, we've gotten as far as selecting the template, putting the opportunity up. Now we want to actually put the pricing to it, and this is super cool, I think, because it's super easy. So I'm going to make the pricing section right here in front of everybody. Again, we're going to call this the webinar fun pricing. Copy paste the description because I'm not a writer. I don't have set our terms monthly and no discounts because I never discount. And then ever not once ask us about discounts. Anyways, so if we throw our pricing, this is going to do a direct lookup into the products, correct?
Product catalog. Yep.
Awesome. So it's like if I'm quoting out, right, the example that I ran through a bunch of different ways, I actually was showing this to internal team. I've showed this to a couple of other MSPs, and it seems really easy. I mean, again, it's like I wanted to run a really simple example for the sake of this webinar. So I'm going to run a laptop, right? We're going to put that in our pricing catalog. So this is a pretty simple, maybe like we're doing a very, very easy example for just one company. So we're going to do like a Cat5 cable as well. Let's just do a cable and a laptop and whatever it may be, right? Pick your products as much as you want. You can also go ahead and modify and do some stuff here. And this is going to reflect the product in the PSA as well. So that's cool. So again, creating it in one spot, focusing your time and effort on making this look good, and then we'll see what happens. So for right now,
and you can also break it up into sections, right? So typically we would have, okay, here's your managed services. Maybe you've got any hardware, and then maybe you've got some on-prem block hours or something along those lines, and you have them separately, right? And then you can have a grand total showing at the bottom. Here's your total cost, right? Your total ongoing cost. Yeah, and that's another thing too, that you can flip that guy on right there, and that'll actually show it. So again, my example is pretty simplistic, but yes, you can add the different pricing sections, you can edit them up, but for the sake of the discussion, now when we go back to the contract wizard, you're going to see that thing has been added in here when we are good to go. So again, just keeping it really simple, we are pretty much good to go and say, all right, these things are ready to be completed. We're happy with them. So you can either manually toggle when they're finished, or hey, look at that, complete all sections. Boom. So that's going through and has completed them all, which is great. So at this point, we're pretty much ready to go. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but at the moment I do this, we're going to get one more. Take a look. So it's going to populate an email. It's going to take all the dynamic prompts that are on that proposal, right? So webinar fun is the title of it, prepared for company name, presented to customer name, presented by user, etc. Right? And just dynamically renders all of those, right? And then you can have a once over. If you're like me and you have 7 coffees a day and you're sending out a quote, you probably made some mistakes. So it's best to review it, right? So it's a quick once over before you get the old John Hancock on it.
I love it because I also I can't even do a screen share properly, so I would very much appreciate a review. So yeah, same thing, right? As you can see, we also have the variables in here. Now again, for the sake of the webinar, I'm just brushing through it to show the general example, but we're happy with this. So if this is cool, it's got the pricing, it's got everything listed down, that's awesome. I can go ahead and proceed, and then it can send it off, right? So I can get CC'd on it, I can get a copy of the actual thing attached, and this will go ahead and fire it off. So we can go as far as to say, yes, let's do it. And that's been sent. And there we go. Yeah. And depending on what you're sending out, right? So if you're sending out a master services agreement, let's say you've got, 20, 30 customers and you just updated it. Well, that could be really tedious to take your Word document, convert it to PDF, type in the customer name, address, all of those types of things.
Whereas with us, you could probably send out an MSA because you're not going to be editing it in 30 seconds to each of your clients.
Totally. Yeah, and again, let's bring it back now to CloudRadial. So in theory, right, if you're doing your work inside a ZenContract, you've done all this stuff, you focused on getting your terms correct, you haven't thought about CloudRadial at all, you haven't thought about ConnectWise at all, you're just making sure that you're sending the best thing you can send, that's clean, that's accurate, that you're happy with. Without you touching a single thing, what's happening is CloudRadial is live reflecting that. So if I'm going to refresh this quote section, basically what we should expect to see is we want to see that webinar fun appear here. If I'm not a dirty liar. Whoa, look, I'm not.
Success.
Weird. That's how that works. I will say the ConnectWise API is pretty good at this stuff. I mean, honestly, the Autotask stuff's good, but the ConnectWise one is actually really snappy and it shows stuff pretty fast. So same way, right? We're in ConnectWise, right? Imagine really it's the same exact thing for Autotask. So if I refresh, we should see the products go up because ZenContract has modified that for us. So we're gonna refresh that. Products went to 2. Guess what? See those products in there. Excellent. Go back into CloudRadial. Again, we've done nothing manually. I click on Webinar Fun. So without doing a single thing, our customers can go into their portal and we are literally just pulling in the fields here. We're pulling in the status of it. We're pulling in the quote type and we're showing them that stuff right there and then, which is great. So that way, now you have a really easy way for them to see what's going on. Now, same thing, the customer, as far as the experience goes, I'll talk a little bit about CloudRadial. They have, whatever conversation they need to have. So whether they go through and they talk about it, they talk to you guys, they talk to their board, and then they come back, that all can happen. But it's nice to have a simple place in their portal that they can go back and review it. What happens after they, let's say, agree to it and accept it? Then, I won't do the whole spiel and run through, but obviously it'll go from a quote to an actual agreement, right?
Yep.
What's really cool as well about ZenContract is that stuff pulls in there too. So the moment that stuff pulls into the agreements, right? Again, you're not having to do any of this in CloudRadial. This is doing it automatically for you. The agreement stuff gets shifted over. So I already prepared one, did the same thing. So the agreement will actually show similar, right? It'll show the line items and the hours and whatnot that you've defined. But also, if you attach the PDF that you've created, and we actually get that in there, you can attach whatever you want. That'll display too, which is super helpful because now you're not just showing line items and things that are static. I can actually pull up a copy of the quote, have that render in the product, which is massive right now. There we go. And then have them flip through it and read it whenever they want to. So you've not only made the pricing block more available for them to see in the quote, you've also given them an archive easy to read in their own portal about how the actual agreement shakes down. So you can obviously take this and modify this, whatever, but the idea is that you're not having to go to 2 places or update them or whatever. It's very simple. It's ZenContract goes to ConnectWise or Autotask, that spits into CloudRadial. You're focusing kind of in one area, which is super great for time savings, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that it pulls in the start and the end date too. I'm probably jumping the gun a little bit, but you can manage renewals within ZenContract, right? So you and your clients can be on the same page as far as when renewals are coming up, and then you can communicate through CloudRadial, right? And then effectively you sign off through ZenContract through the email, and then rinse and repeat, right? Just keep it going, keep growing your business.
Dylan's asking a good question in the comments in the chat. He was asking, can you add the acceptance link into CloudRadial? You can't, but there's no reason why we can't add that, because what we do is when we pull that in there, especially in the quotes, all we're doing is we're just saying, hey, here's these fields. So this is something we've talked about in general offline. Yep. We could just talk about it here too. Adding additional functionality here is actually really simple. So it's like what we've done before for other types of integration. So we integrate with actual like invoicing tools. We add a link in that invoicing tool to just say, pay your invoice here. Similar thing. I mean, we could certainly do that if there's a dynamic one. This is kind of our first stab at it, which is honestly pretty easy. The other thing that we're working on, Trevor and I discussed, is automatically appending the contract into the agreement, which is going to be super simple. You don't have to do a single thing. And we could certainly do that. It doesn't do it now, but again, that's just a couple lines of code. So it's really not too bad to say, hey, click here to go to the portal. Because that link, I know we discussed maybe not showing it perhaps right now, but that link is really easy. I mean, like if we look at my email that I got, hopefully you can see this okay, maybe a little small. It's just this, it's like, hey, go view your document. So when I pull that up, right, agreement wise, we're going to see that that actually shows me the agreement in ZenContract. Again, this is the customer perspective. So all we really need to do is put that link up there, and you can see, like Trevor was saying earlier, if I'm ready to give my my signature, boom, let's go for it. Let's sign that guy up and we're good to go. So definitely an easy fix or easy upgrade for Jen.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a great question, Dylan. Yeah, I'll talk to our dev team. Ricky, you can do your dev team thing and then we'll connect at some point, I'm sure.
I think so. And again, it's like we've seen that happen, not just in the quote, but also if there's other stuff you want to do, and you can do what I'm talking about right now today. If there's other stuff you want to put inside of the agreement, right? Not just the PDF, whatever you want to attach inside of ConnectWise or Autotask inside of the attachments will pull through into CloudRadial. So it's like if I go back into the attachments on the actual webinar the agreement in there, whatever it may be, right? So a lot of times what I've seen people do kind of manually or just however they feel like doing is if you've got follow-up actions you want them to be able to see, like request another thing, throw it on here and it'll show up as another line item. So that's really easy for you to give that kind of user experience for them too.
Yep.
Okay, I think that really covers the main functionality of it. Now again, because it's a webinar, because we're cognizant of time and I'm not, we're not trying to do a whole webinar on our stuff. There's a bunch more stuff in here to talk about that we can do, right? That you guys can customize and whatnot. But I want to kind of hop back over and let Trevor finish a little bit more of a description of what we're talking about. So I went over a little bit of CloudRadial, did the CSA part, but the thing I want to say right now is tell me a little bit about, there we go, your management methodology.
Yeah, so I think this is kind of what we've covered off so far, right? We've got your templates. That's going to be the bucket for all of your different sections, right? The negotiation side of things is you send it out and they say, hey, red line clause 1.3a and drop 10% off the price, right? Execute's going to be your signature. The compliance part, yeah, sorry, I'm reading your comments, Ricky, and trying to the execution part's the signature, and then the comply part is, do we actually have duly executed contracts that are not expired, right? So you get visibility on all of that. And then the renewal piece is what I'm talking about for the rinse and repeat, right? Let's not spend 2 weeks, 3 weeks gathering all this information, getting this sent out, signed off. Let's do it in 5 minutes with one stakeholder instead of having to touch the whole team, right? And then measuring how effective all of that is, right? What is your actual growth?
Joe raised his hand. I'm not sure if on purpose or by accident, but Joe, if you have a question or something, feel free to shoot that out there. And if not, if you lowered your hand in shame, then that's okay too. Or no, you didn't. I don't know. Can't tell. Yeah, okay, it's fine. Sometimes I see that and I'm like, yeah, no, got nothing. All right, never mind. I do that too. So don't worry.
Me too. Trigger happy. And then, so I find this especially funny because I was watching, I think it was Adam from Cloud Olive, and he's like, billing reconciliation is the least sexy thing to talk about. And I'm like, hold my beer. Contracts, right? We've heard from a lot of our MSPs that are like, well, I didn't want to send contracts, right? I've been doing a handshake deal with this guy for 10 years. But for the operational risk side of things, we have to have it, right? We have to have that in place. And then the clarity side of things is, and when I sent this out to, client ABC, they said, thank you for sending this over. Now we know the clear delineation of risk, liability, all of these types of things. So we know who's in charge of what and who's on the hook. If we screw up because we click on a bad link, that's on us. If you didn't set up our spam filter properly, that's on you, right? And it's all outlined. So everyone feels more comfortable with it. Right? Contracts are a scary, gross word until you understand that it makes everyone feel more at ease. And then the enterprise value, right? Like essentially when Greg founded this company, he did it so that they had clarity and the operational risk all taken care of. They had duly executed contracts. They could say, hey, our ARR is this, and here's all of the contracts that accompany it. But as they started to look at buyers for Base 2, the MSP he ran for over a decade, they were like, well, here's all of our contracts, right? And it allowed them to achieve a much greater selling price than what they were initially expecting.
Yeah, I think that's we preach a lot of the same message too. And I think that the idea is that whether you're running your own business and it's for your own purposes and you're thinking about your own exit, or you're looking for, again, like kind of a roll-up thing, I think whether again up or down, it just makes sense to have stuff like this standardized because yeah, the handshake deals feel good and they're cool. The same way with, like, again, from my perspective, client presentation is cool if it's all based on you showing up and shaking some hands and kissing some babies, but at the same time, it's really hard to scale that. It's really hard to make that something that you can actually take and show and acquire or sell, right? So the more you can standardize this stuff, the easier it is to kind of meet the market needs, whatever you need at any point.
Yeah, well, and it's something that we're hearing more and more of. Like, what's your process? Well, I have a Word document and I send it through. I convert it to PDF, send it for signature, or I'm using DocuSign or insert like one of these other tools, and it's like, okay, well, it's all integrated and seamless, right? And you can send something out in a couple minutes. It's like, well, not really. And it's like, okay, why wouldn't you move to a solution like ZenContract or some sort of e-sig platform that's integrated? And it's like, well, it doesn't make me money today, and it's like, okay, I would challenge that belief that it doesn't make you money today, but it protects you and will make you more money.
Yeah. Again, same thing for CloudRadial, but I think that's what's important. Again, I preach this pretty much every webinar I do. This one's no different. I think that the biggest takeaway that you guys can take is not just listen to some tools and please buy our tools. I think that's cool. I love money. So please, money is great. But I think that the idea is more so like trying to genuinely be better and trying to make you guys hopefully provide some solutions, provide some answers to make this whole process smoother. And I'm 100% on that. I think that if you can, again, make these processes, build them in and try to get rid of the bad habit of doing one-offs, then that's going to, again, make you sleep better at night, make your clients happier. Because to your point earlier, that delineation, when you're actually able to draw a line in the sand and everybody can kind of stick to it and point to it, may seem cruel at first, but it really is something that people rely on as backbone to the relationship. And I think that's great.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one thing I love about like the content that CloudRadial puts out. And I think we try to do the same, is like more thought leadership. Like, yes, absolutely, we would love to take your money, but that's not why we're out here in front of you talking about these things, right? Greg does a couple master classes on like contract hygiene and best practices, what to do if you're looking to get sale ready. We're doing an upcoming one next month that's all about like, here's some clauses that you probably missed, right? And it's, all of this content is made for you to grow your business and be better and safer, right? And your clients as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. So guys, I know we had slated for an hour, but like we talked about that as well. And like we thought like, hey, let's show it off. If there's any questions, feel free to let us know. And if not, then we can always, nobody's ever mad at taking an extra half hour. So yeah, if there's any other questions about functionality or process, please let us know at any point. Obviously, you guys have been pretty good about doing that through the whole webinar, but if you need to get some more information, feel free. You can schedule a demo at cloudradials.com/demo. Happy to show you around, happy to show you how all this stuff works. And then for you, Trevor, I believe this is a direct link to you to kind of get a feel going, a little demonstration.
Yes. Yeah. Demonstration chat. I'm just looking at Norb's link that he just sent for crazy hot sauce.
I know we're supposed to be talking about it. I'm taking over. We're going straight to the chili. Let's talk about the midsummer chili Klaus. We've got enough time.
So can I derail us for a second? It's still on the hot sauce. This is a shameless plug for something that makes me absolutely no money, and it is just about it's like a passion project. I'm going to throw it into the chat here.
I want to point out that this is a almost 230 euro hot sauce.
Whoa.
Norm, I don't know what kind of gold mine you run on the side to be able to afford the Panther hot sauce, but let me in on it.
Yeah, Norm, you send this to me and I'll buy you a bourbon next time we're at the lobby bar together. That is wild.
Please don't break me up and link me to some
No, this is did I spell it right?
No, it's not going there.
Uh-oh.
All right, I promise we'll get off the hot sauce, guys. I just really wanted to bring it to the hot sauce for just a second at the end of the webinar.
Well, so that website should take you, I've got it up on my screen. It should take you to this website I built, and it's just all about hot sauces. I've got some challenge videos where we do. Oh, interesting. I wonder if you've got some firewall stuff or something going on, because I've got it on my end. Anyways, we do stupid challenge videos where we eat the hottest stuff on earth.
Why are we talking about work? Why not just go do the hot sauce stuff?
Right? Yeah, I'm down, man. That looks wild though.
This is pretty nuts. Anyways, all right. Well,
yeah.
At the risk of getting yelled at later for talking about hot sauce too much on this webinar, thank you guys for joining us. Or I can't hijack this into a hot sauce webinar. I can't do that.
We'll do that next time.
Well, yeah, we're already doing it, but
yeah, exactly. Yeah, Ricky, it was an absolute pleasure. I always love chatting with you, man. So thanks for having us on.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you guys. Appreciate you. And yeah, please, if you're in the market to simplify your quoting process, get that standardized, take a look at ZenContract. If you're in the market to improve your client experience, which everyone should be all the time, get into CloudRadial. Tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell your dad, I want to meet him, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks, guys.
Cheers. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.